Hi, I'm Anupa and welcome to this series, and it's going to be a super hit one because we're going to be doing pizzas and we're going to talk about 5 best pizzas according to me. And the first one is the simplest of all, the most tasty and the flavorful, which is Margherita pizza. And why Margherita pizza? Because it's something that one should definitely know how to make it, and after you've known how to make it, then you can do all your combinations. So doing a Margherita is getting the base right, getting the sauce right, and once you have a perfect pizza base and a perfect sauce, you have a perfect pizza. And so how do you do that? Let's begin. So making a perfect pizza sauce is a task. No, it's not a task, but you should get your ingredients just right. So we'll begin with a pan in which I need to take some olive oil. And while the oil is getting hot, let me just explain to you another thing. What I have here is fresh yeast. So I've taken some fresh yeast in a bowl to which I'm going to add some sugar. What am I doing here? I'm making a pizza base. So if you want to make a pizza at home from scratch, right from making the pizza dough to the sauce, this recipe is perfectly for you. And to this, I've added some water. Now what happens here is that the sugar and yeast, when they come in contact with each other along with some water, they release a gas which is CO2. Yes, carbon dioxide, and this is the gas that is what makes the bread proof. So whether you make a pizza base or any other bread, yeast is very important, and that is exactly what we are going to do now. So I'll let this proof, but let's make the sauce also. I've taken some oil, and to the oil I'm going to add some garlic. After you've sauteed the garlic, so all the raw flavor of garlic needs to go. We'll add some fresh tomato puree. Okay, now this needs to cook. The raw flavor of tomato also needs to go. So after you've added garlic and tomatoes, we'll add in salt, and now we'll let this cook for some time. Coming back to the dough, what you can see, these specks here are basically bubbles. So they are released by the yeast that we've added in the water. Now to this we'll add in refined flour, and we'll add some olive oil, and now this is the dough that we need to make for the pizza. Now the dough has to be soft, and the oil that goes into this is what will make it crispy when you bake it. So this is the dough that is ready. What you have to do right now is nothing much, just cling wrap the dough and keep so that it rises in volume. So we'll just keep this aside. I have a batch which I have already made and kept. So see this? This is the dough which has risen. You can see this net sort of a thing is because there is a lot of carbon dioxide which has got released. See this? So this is the dough that we are going to use now to make the Margherita pizza. But coming back to the sauce, now the tomato has got cooked, it has released, or all the water, extra water that was there has got evaporated. Now let's add some more flavorings. I've got some castor sugar because tomato is quite sour, and it's always better to cut the souring by adding in a little bit of sweetness, and that's in the form of sugar. And let's cut some basil. And we'll add this to the sauce, and we'll add a little bit of tomato ketchup at the same time. So here goes the sauce, it's done, but we'll not be able to use the sauce while it is hot, so we need to cool it down and then use as and when we want to make the pizza. So we switch off the heat. Sauce is done. We haven't really added anything more to this like a chili flake or any other herbs. But that is something that you can always add when you're making the pizza. So I'll keep this aside to cool. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll take a portion of this dough. You don't have to take the entire bit. We'll take one portion of this dough and shape it into a ball. Now the most common ingredient used to roll a pizza is polenta. Why polenta? Because polenta has the properties of not sticking. So basically what we'll do is we'll take some polenta, a little bit of polenta and a little bit of refined flour is what we will use, and we'll roll this out into a nice thin pizza base. If you don't have polenta, you can also use suji, which is semolina. The edges you have to try and keep thin. Okay, so this is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the pizza from the chopping board and place it on the baking tray. Whatever excess flour, in case if there is any, you can just remove it. The base can also be greased with some oil if you think it's needed. So we can even do that. So how do you do that? You can just lift up the base, keep it in your hand, place some oil, take a brush and just grease the base. Now what do you do? Now the most important thing at this stage is to dock, so that the base doesn't puff up. So when you are doing a Margherita pizza and you are doing a thin crust pizza, you have to always dock the dough like this. So after we have done this, I am going to put this in the oven for about 5 minutes and then come back, and how do we do the topping is what you will see. Here you go. The pizza was in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes, and it's semi-cooked. It's not completely cooked because I didn't want to cook it completely, but now comes the actual work. So now let's take some olive oil and we'll first apply the base with some olive oil so that it becomes even more crisp when we bake it again in the oven. Now sauce. The sauce that we had made has cooled. So now what you can do is, after you've made the sauce, you can blend it in the mixie and make it absolutely smooth, or you can leave it chunky like this. I like to eat it this way, which is why I've left it as it is. Now this is completely up to you how you want to handle it. Okay, so we've spread the sauce over, and now what? Now nothing. Now comes the cheese. Margherita is the most simplest pizza, but it's supposed to be the most flavorful pizza also. Got some mozzarella, lots of it. So here goes the mozzarella onto the pizza. And there's one more thing that we need to add here is fresh basil. Pull it apart like this and just place it over. If you want to add some salt, you're free to do. And you want to put some herbs, you can do that as well. Well, this is going back to the oven for another 15 minutes. So the cheese is going to melt, the base is going to go crisp, and after that is done, what are we going to do? We're just going to cut it into pieces, into wedges rather, and serve, because pizza is supposed to be had soon after it is out of the oven. And what are you going to do? I think you need to get to your kitchen, make the dough, make the sauce, and make your own Margherita pizza. And also, while you do that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.